Hello and welcome back to another episode of Full Tank Truck Talk. I'm your host, Phil Eastman, host of the Full Tank with Phil podcast, and that's where you can get any of your Cup Series action and gambling picks there for the Cup Series. And this week is no different. We're breaking down the Kansas Cup race this Sunday on Mother's Day on the Full Tank with Phil pod. So give that a listen. And also on that episode, giving my opinion about how to fix the All-Star race. So got that out there. If that interests you at all, give that a look. But why we're here is because we've got Kansas action in the Truck Series, and it's a little bit different this week. Xfinity is off, so that means trucks elevated to Saturday night prime time racing. It doesn't get better than this, folks. 7:30 Eastern time at Kansas, and it's going to be one of those deals where the sun's going to be setting on that racetrack. We're going to be ending under the lights. Oh, it's going to be fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to this race for a few different reasons. And on this episode, I am kind of shooting and firing here. So I'm going to try to keep things rolling and quick, but I am off, not going to have a video for North Wilkesboro next week. I know it's a points paying race for the trucks, but I will be away on a golf trip. No way I'd be able to put this out there. Give my Instagram or X a look in case I kind of find anything throughout the week on that. Maybe I'll get that out there if possible, but no video next week. And so because of that, I'm kind of just wheeling and dealing this week. There's a lot of drivers that stand out, and we're going to talk about a few different drivers, a few different bets, and hopefully have a little bit of fun along the way here. But first thing we want to get to is the race recap from last week at Texas. It was a 1.5-mile track. We're going to go right back to it here at Kansas, and a little bit of a rough week for the betting card, except for the fact that we hit the race winner, and it wasn't that difficult. Corey Heim, we called him out for a good reason. He wasn't leading the entire thing. He didn't dog walk anybody. But at the end of the day, push comes to shove, Corey Heim gets it done. The other bets that we had out there, Majeski top 5, Sanchez top 5, those guys let us down. Majeski was fighting there for a little bit. Sanchez completely let me down, so that was disappointing to see. But we had some heartbreak last week. One, Honeycutt was out in the first 30 laps, and he looked good. We're going to talk about him later. And then Friesen, we had him in a head-to-head bet. He was cruising. We love Stuart Friesen. He was a little bit of off the beaten trail type of pick last week, and it felt great to be right about that. And then he gets caught up in some garbage towards the end of that race. Like, we just couldn't get to the finish line with him. So very disappointed in the way that ended. But hey, we hit the race winner, and I'll be happy about it. So we will move on. Looking ahead now to Kansas. This is, like I said, a Saturday night race. And if you are aware of, it gives you a little bit more time, right? I'm going to have this video out there on late Thursday night, Friday morning. Well, practice and qualifying, that starts Saturday afternoon. So practice at 2:05 Eastern time, qualifying at 3:10. Will be over by 4 o'clock. So it'll be a 3-hour window. We'll see if the books open back up. They have been giving us some updated lines over the past few weeks. So I do expect an opportunity to see some other updated bets come along. Not that we're actively jumping on those as of late, but we have been known to dabble. So what to expect here? We've got Hocevar in this race yet again, and we've got old Willie B, those Spire cars, the all-star cars. They're coming down to race this one. And what that means is that they are completely inflating the odds for some of the more truck veterans and truck regulars and guys that are very good. So I will take that, and we're going to talk about everybody that we have in mind. And then in the finish line section, I'm just going to kind of rip and run on some names that I don't particularly have bets on just yet, but I need to figure out, what's the deal with these guys. So let's get to it. We'll go to the outrights, and we're going to run it right back, folks. And I'm not going to dilly-dally around. We're going to call one name out for an outright pick this week, and it's Corey Heim. Corey Heim, once again, plus 150 on DraftKings. It's like, I'll take it. We did it last week, same price, same place, and it worked out for us. It's too good to pass up. He is just silly to go against at this point. In 2025, we've had 2.5-mile tracks, Vegas and Texas. You're going to hear me referring to those a lot in this episode. He won both those races. I hope you were able to catch us before the season started on the channel, because we gave out Corey Heim as my favorite future pick of the year. And that was over under 4.5 wins for the year. He's got 3 already, and we're not at Memorial Day. So I'm loving where that's at right now. But 2025, 2.5 miles, 2 victories. Okay. We look up, we see another 1.5 miles. You say, all right, must be Heim time yet again. And how did he fare last year? He swept this racetrack last year. 2 races at Kansas last year. He won both of them. I mean, it's just unbelievable the stats that this guy's putting down in this truck series. And then another metric that I'm looking at here for the trucks is 1.5 mile races going back to the start of last year. So 2024 start. That's 7 races in full. Not everyone has raced every single one, but Corey Heim has raced in all 7, has won 4 of them, and he is 7 for 7, finishing inside the top 5. A 1.6 average finish in a 7-race span. That is insane. And I feel like I was saying similar stuff last week, and then he goes out and gets it done. We got to run it back. It feels silly to me to try to, get cute and go with a Hocevar or a Byron pick if you're looking for guys at the top of the board. It's Heim. It's Heim because of all those reasons and what he did last week. He wasn't even really, asserting his dominance, and then boom, at the end of the race, he's your winner. So Corey Heim, plus 150. We're doing it again. Now, I'm not calling out anybody else in the outright section, but some of these drivers that we're going to be talking about as we get to the placements here, I think that it could be worth a sprinkle on a couple of these guys that we talk about throughout this episode. Okay. So it's not that I'm saying no one else can win. It's just when we're talking about the guys at the top of the board, Byron, Hocevar, and Heim, even though Heim's the shortest, I'm much more interested in that than trying to get cute and go with some guys who, Hocevar didn't look all that fantastic last week at a racetrack where he had been good. It's just, I don't know. Sanchez shocked me coming down, not really performing. Willie B, he hasn't won a race in the truck series since Martinsville in 2022. He's been serviceable, but not lights out, like a Kyle Larson type of deal. So I'm more inclined with Heim. If you want to sprinkle, some of the names we're going to talk about probably more up your alley. So let's go with one that is, I kind of have these listed on my chart here in a different order. But I'll go with one that's probably a little bit more in line with, what we're thinking here. I got a Tyler Ankrum pick for plus 260 for a top 5 on DraftKings. Okay. Tyler Ankrum. Now, this is a situation that's going to be a little bit different than the rest of the guys that I'm breaking down here in this video, because it's not a pick because of his dominance or prowess at Kansas Motor Speedway. In fact, he's kind of struggled there. Last year, he finished 20th and 14th. So not all that great overall. In the last 6 races, going back to 2022, he's got 2 top 10s, 4 top 15s. He's 6 for 6 in the top 20. For whatever that's worth, maybe you include him for sure in a daily fantasy type of play. But it's this year that is drawing me in right now to Tyler Ankrum. The dude is fast, man. He's fast. And I need to ride this wave while this wave is going. This value is great. Plus 260 on DraftKings. Usually you see the inflated odds, and you might be able to get him on a different number on some of these other books like Bovada or Bet365, who typically offer better numbers. But in 8 races this season, he's got 6 top 5s. That's crazy. That's sneaky. And he's on a top 5 streak of 5 in a row right now. Last week, he finished 4th at Texas. Okay. And at Las Vegas, it was top 10. He finished 10th in that race. So McAnally is a team right now. They've been really strong, really strong. And he has, kind of been the leader. They both have wins. So he has been clicking, and it's because of that top 5 streak, the fact that it doesn't really matter what kind of racetrack you're throwing at this team right now, he's performing. Plus 260 number is just too good to be true. So I don't know if the books are sleeping on him or what, but I want to have something on him here. So plus 260 for Tyler Ankrum is where we're going. And it wouldn't shock me if something happened to Heim. It wouldn't shock me if he was competing for the win. All right, next bet here. And I've got 2 more drivers that I want to talk about for a top 5. And I'm going to segue into, for each of those, a head-to-head matchup. So that's what I was saying. I'm getting a little frisky this week. I'm just wheeling and dealing. And so we're going to start with a driver that I just have been waiting for this race for, and it's Caden Honeycutt. This is his race. He needs to come through. This has been a season of disappointment so far, a season of a few rough finishes on tracks where, probably shouldn't. And last week was case in point. I've been waiting for it. Last week, he started 6th. Okay. And we had him in a head-to-head matchup. He ran top 10 the entire time he was in that race. And, it was basically for all of stage 1. And then because of Gio Ruggiero hitting the grass, and there was a couple guys that went into that grass last week and boom, destroyed their car. Ruggiero came across the front of Honeycutt and just destroyed his car. So it wasn't even something that he did wrong, in my opinion. So that isn't something that I can look at and be like, oh, well, that's a knock against Honeycutt going into this week. It's just, he was running strong. He was running right where we needed him to be in stage 1, but got taken out by somebody else. Looking at the 1.5 miles since the start of 2024, 5 starts, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 4 top 15s. This racetrack last year were both of those 2 top 5 finishes. He finished 4th in both of those races. So that's what has my attention. That's why I've been waiting for it. That's why I've been saying hey, he's a sneaky pick here. Sprinkle on an outright. See if he can get that first win. And his speed rating last spring wasn't even that good. And he didn't even have a good starting position in that race. He started 23rd. His speed rating was 24th, but for whatever reason, he was able to find himself into a top 4. And then in the fall, he was right back at it and finished 4th. Strong race all around there. So this team needs it. They need it. I have to imagine they've had this circled on their calendar all year. They've had some rough finishes. Last week was a killer. They had a strong truck, got destroyed. Let's look up, bounce back. Here we go. Plus 300 for a top 5 on a guy that did it both times last year. It's a great number. That's fair on Bet365 if you had it. Now, let's segue that into a head-to-head matchup. I want to go double duty here on Honeycutt. All right, we'll do a little, maybe less than a unit on a top 5, especially with that number, but full unit on this one for all of those reasons with Honeycutt. And then he's going up against Brandon Jones in that one truck yet again, where Jones, I don't know, this is on Bovada, and he's got 4 starts. He has 0 top 10s. His average finish is 22.8. We talked about it last week. I think it was the same exact bet last week. I know we were going against Jones, but Honeycutt got taken out early. Didn't come to fruition. This was an absolute lock last week, and act of God type of deal. So we're going right back at it. And in this case, I feel so much more strong because of the track. Honeycutt over Jones on Bovada minus 115. This should be minus 130 in favor of Honeycutt. And even that I would take, because I'd be shocked if they each finish the race, right? They run the full race. If Jones beats Honeycutt, I'd be blown away on Saturday night. So I'm riding with Honeycutt this week. If you've been following these videos, this is probably not a surprise. I've been alluding to this, but here we are. It's game time. It's put up or shut up time for that team. So hopefully for us, they are putting up. All right. Last driver we're going to talk about for the placement segment. This is somebody that jumped off the page to me. It's somebody that we have not bet on all year. So it's a new name. So anybody out there that's been hitting me like, same guys every week. Well, yeah, it's the Truck Series. The big dogs eat. Here's somebody off the beaten path. Okay. Tanner Gray, 7-1. Remember a few weeks ago, we're in the finish line section. I said, hey, Jake Garcia, top 5 for 10-1. This is a similar vibe. There's reason to it. There's merit here behind this. Tanner Gray, plus 700 on DraftKings. That's better than Bet365's number of 6-1. So DraftKings is the way to go for this bet, Tanner Gray. This is the first driver I have written down on my sheet. He jumped off the page to me. Now, just to give you a little bit of background here and support of this, I'm going through my notes and writing stuff down and like feeling things out. And I'm like, Tanner Gray, am I nuts? So the NASCAR Gambling Podcast with Cody Zeeb, Rod Gomez, great dudes. If you're looking for more NASCAR betting content, those guys are phenomenal. They put out a ton of content each week, and they love their truck podcast. So if you're looking for truck gambling podcast, truck gambling content in podcast form, because I know this isn't, definitely give them a look. Good people. I texted Cody. I was like, hey, man, Tanner Gray, am I crazy? And, I said, because I don't like listening to anybody else's stuff before I get my stuff down and out. I said, I haven't listened to your show yet, but I just want to know, do you guys talk about him? And he was like, dude, I love Tanner Gray this week. I was like, say no more. We're good. The fact that he's on him makes me feel confident even more. So let's get to the numbers here. Okay. Because he had some pretty bad starts. His starting spots last year averaged 16.7, but his average finish in 2024 at Kansas, 7.6. So he was able to kind of overcome some stuff and showing improvement, through those races. That's huge. And then looking at the last 7 races on 1.5 tracks, 2 top 5s, 5 for 7 top 10 finishes, 9.6 average finish. That's 4th in the entire Truck Series. Okay. Now we're filtering out some of the guys that drop down because they're not regulars. So out of all regulars, 9.6 in that metric is 4th. And that is with, again, poor starting positions. That's an average of 20.0 starting position. He's 4th in green flag speed last fall at this racetrack. So you go and you look at, all right, decent at this racetrack. What else you got for me? Well, in 2025, we've had 2.5-mile races. Las Vegas and Texas, he finished top 5 in both of those races. Sneakily. I wasn't really focused on him because we're not betting him, but he was 3rd at Vegas, 5th last week at Texas. There's only one driver in the Truck Series that has had both top 5 finishes on the 1.5 miles. You know who that was? Corey Heim, because he won both of the damn races. This guy is kind of like a silent little sniper in these top 5 markets on these 1.5 miles. So pretty damn good. And this monster number, right? I'm not telling you that we should go bet the mortgage on 7-1, but because this number is so inflated, you can bet a little less and feel good about the bet and make some money. So it's just crazy to me. I'm loving this. I love when we kind of find a diamond in the rough, like Garcia last couple weeks ago. This is another one. This is another one where the stats are here. It makes sense. It feels weird because, we don't bet Tanner Gray all the time, but you got to take the opportunity when the iron's hot. So we like that. He's also going up against somebody in a head-to-head matchup, -115 against Jake Garcia. And this to me is punching down. I mean, I just gave you all of the stats for Taylor Gray. It's pretty much the total opposite for Jake Garcia. He starts phenomenally. 3.0 average starting position, okay, and 0 top 10s. His average finish 23.5. Just, I don't know what it is. It's like they're two ships in the night here at Kansas. 23rd in green flag speed here last year. So this is a bet where I can't take the risk. I wish we had like a day between practice, qualifying, and the race, like a Cup Series race. Because if I could guarantee this head-to-head matchup would be on the table after practice and qualifying, I would hold off. Because Tanner Gray would be plus money here. Because Jake Garcia from history is going to start top 5, and Gray is going to start in the 20s. Like, that's going to happen. Don't be scared if that takes place. It's probably going to, but history tells us that they're just going to go whoosh, right past each other on the line chart, and Taylor Gray should win this matchup. So, Honeycutt, top 5. Gray, top 5. And then those matchups, Honeycutt over Jones, and this one here, Gray over Garcia. Man, that's the placement segment. In addition to Ankrum, who's just been absolutely on fire. So I'm feeling pretty good right now with where we're at on these bets. All right, let's move into then the official matchup segment, where I've got a couple more for you, a couple more that weren't related to those other ones. And we'll start here with a battle of the teammates, Chandler Smith and Lane Riggs. This is on ESPN bet. Smith is plus 100 in this matchup, and that's what got me fully attentive here. Needed to look into it. I will give you the full mindset here of this bet. I was digging into Riggs as a outright pick. I was like, maybe we could throw Riggs into that segment as like a super long shot. And as I was digging in, I was like, no, I don't feel comfortable in that. Would it shock me? No, but he's so inconsistent. And that's kind of where we're going to land here with this matchup. Like, this up and down bullshit, it doesn't fly when we're trying to hit a head-to-head matchup. Riggs, 2 starts last year. I mean, this is the synopsis right here. 18th in the spring, 2nd in the fall. It's just this hot and cold, back and forth, and look at last week. It's the same story with this guy. It's a single race, right? Looked really strong. Made an amazing, I don't know if it was stage 1 or stage 2. He made a great pass along the outside for the lead earlier in that race. And I was like, God damn, dude, this guy can move. Maybe he's, really got a handle on these 1.5 miles now. I got to mark him down. I think probably that's why I started looking at him from the outrights. I was like, he can move. But then he just got into trouble a couple times, like multiple times. He got into trouble. I think he might have been one of the guys that hit the grass at one point. It's just this up and down. He looks great, then he hits trouble. Looks great, doesn't get a good finish. So it's tough for me to go into this. Does he deserve a minus 130 number over his teammate Chandler Smith? I don't think so. I mean, his last 7.5 mile tracks, his average finish is 19.3. I know average finish isn't everything, and it doesn't tell the full story, but at the end of the day, in a head-to-head matchup, I need consistent average finish numbers here. So you look at Smith, 2025, he has just been faster overall, better than his teammate this season. I mean, there's just no getting around it. He's second in driver rating in the entire truck series behind Corey Heim with 106.8. He's second in average running position, 6.9. You know where Lane Riggs is running on average this season? 12.2. That's double. Back-to-back non-top 10s for Chandler Smith after a really hot start to the year. This is the perfect opportunity for a really big bounce back here. Kansas, in his truck series career, he's got 4 starts. He has no starting position worse than 6th. So he is very good off the truck, and he has no finish in his career worse than 11th. The other finishes are 4, 5, and 6. So I like multiple things about this matchup with Chandler Smith. I like the fact that he consistently qualifies well. I like the fact that he finishes really well here. He's consistent. It's not a up and down type of deal. It's not an up and down type of deal as far as speed this year. It's very even keel. And I'm getting that even keel guy with really strong numbers at plus 100. Lock me in. That's where we're landing with this one. So Chandler Smith over his teammate, Lane Riggs, and we'll see how this one shakes out. It's a little queasy to go against Riggs because he could bite you. That's a fact. But I like kind of the reasoning here behind this, and that's why I'm putting it out here. The last one is a fun one. I like trying to find bets that we don't talk about on a week-to-week basis. So this one, we're having a little bit of fun here. And Matt Crafton over Bailey Curry. This one, this is a doozy, okay? Because I wrote this down, and then I was a little surprised at Curry being more solid than I had thought. I mean, it really is pretty, commendable for Bailey Curry. But I still like Crafton over him, and this is why. We'll kind of break it down here. Curry has 4 starts at this racetrack, 16.8 average finish. He has 1 top 10. Crafton, 17.2 average finish in 6 starts, 2 top 10s, 4 top 15 finishes. Both have been solid this season. And, Crafton this year, 2 top 10s, 8.0 on the mile and a halves this season. Bailey Curry has an 8th place finish and an 18th place finish. So, that 18th drags down. It's a short sample size of 2 with the mile and a half, but that 18 kind of draws them down a little bit. They're 1-1 head-to-head against each other, which I found surprising, right? You have Matt Crafton finishing 9th at Vegas and losing that head-to-head matchup here to Bailey Curry in 8th. Like, that surprised me a little bit, but I still like the fact that Crafton, went back last week, finished 7th at Texas. I mean, the thing about Matt Crafton is when you're breaking down his Kansas numbers, if you look one shade deeper, you can see that he's got a weird pattern at Kansas where spring races, he comes to play. The fall races, he struggles. I don't know what it is. Are they shot out of a cannon in the beginning of the year and kind of riding that wave? I don't know what it is, but these are his finishes. In 2024, he finished 10th. 2023 spring race, finished 11th. 2022 spring race, 9th. Like, pretty wild, right? When you're going back to those racetracks and then you're seeing like where he finishes in the fall race, it's like 23rd, 26th, like he struggles. So I love patterns like that where we say, for whatever reason in the spring, I don't know if it's the weather, I don't know if it's the timing of the race, but he does well in the spring. And then you go to a little further back. 2020 was a wonky year, obviously. They raced here 3 times, but his finishes in that season at this racetrack were 8th, and that was in the fall race. The 2, I don't think we could consider it spring, but the 2 early season races at this track, he had a win and a 4th place finish. They did like a double duty that weekend because of COVID. Point remains, spring race, Matt Crafton at Kansas, he's going to put it probably around that 10th mark. So can Bailey Curry match that? That's the thing. Bailey Curry driving well. Can he match it? I'm saying no. I'm saying that I'm going to go with the wily veteran Matt Crafton over Bailey Curry, who, Bailey Curry is someone that if he was spinning out in stage 1, bringing out a caution, like the announcers wouldn't bat an eye. You know what I mean? They'd be like, oh, and there's Bailey Curry spinning through the infield. Like, where if it was Matt Crafton, like, oh, Crafton, that's a shame. Like, that's kind of where he's at in his career right now. So I'm going to go with Crafton over Curry here on ESPN, and that'll round out the official pick. So a lot of stuff this week, kind of ripping and running. Like I said, the last finish line segment, I just wanted to mention a couple drivers that I just could not get a handle on, didn't find a spot for them, but drivers that, seem pretty solid. I'll start with Enfinger. He seems frisky. Last week, he was one that I think took out Friesen, but he was battling in that race. And he's another one where it's like a little too inconsistent for me, but I feel like that team is going to break through. At Kansas, he has some pretty good numbers, but last season in the 9 truck was like 12th and like 9th or something like that. I don't have my stats up for him. Just wasn't as good as we saw when he was driving that 23 truck the years prior. So the strong reaction that we got out of the Texas race from that race team. They didn't get the finish they deserve. Are they going to come back with a vengeance here at Texas? I don't know. Tough to see. But if somebody sent me a message and said they're all in on Enfinger for an outright, I wouldn't I wouldn't hesitate to tell you on that. Just he's a conundrum to me at this point in this season. Another driver that I just couldn't find a way to bet was Daniel Hemrick, that McAnally truck. Christian Eckes was very good here at Kansas. Daniel Hemrick's having a very good season. I really like what he's been bringing to the table. And so what do we get out of him? It's just very difficult to kind of put your finger on it, because last week, like, I was kind of forgetting Hemrick to a point, and there he goes. He's finishing like fourth or something like that, or he was at least running fourth in that race. And he's third in points right now. It's Heim, Smith, Hemrick. Like, those are guys. Sorry, Hemrick finished second last week after starting on the outside pole. Like, so Hemrick, third at Rockingham, second at Fort Worth. He's got a win at Martinsville. Like, he's having a really good season. I just couldn't find maybe a top 5 on Hemrick would be decent, because these guys have the lines inflated with Hocevar and Byron coming down. A plus 260 number for a top 5. I'm looking at Bovada right now, but I'd imagine it's similar elsewhere. Keep Daniel Hemrick in your thoughts. Like, that McAnally team, very strong right now. And then the last driver is Rajah Caruth, who I constantly battle with, because I want to be able to lock in on him and bet on him. He's had a little bit of a rougher season. He's now worked his way back up to 13th. He had a rough start. The first 4 races, he had 3 outside the top 20, but since then he's rebounded, and third place last week at Fort Worth, Texas. I think, 4th at Rockingham before that, 9th at Bristol, 8th in Martinsville. I think Caruth is someone to watch out for at, mile and a halfs in general. We know that he won Vegas last year with all that fanfare. So he is somebody that I would like to bet on. I just don't know how. And, if I could get him in a head-to-head matchup against somebody that I, really don't like, that would be great. But I think I've only seen one matchup, and it was against a stronger driver that, I preferred to play. So Rajah, another one, keeping my eye on, trying to see how they work out in practice, and maybe he's a post-practice play. So that's going to do it for another episode of the Full Tank Truck Talk. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know who you're on this weekend at Kansas, and everyone have a great Saturday Night Lights for the Truck Series. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you next time.